But the global vision is that there are too many injuries among professional and recreational football players. So we have to do everything to reduce the risk for injuries, as currently it is, the scientific evidence says about 2 injuries per player per year, unrelated to the level of skills. So definitely all our intention is to reduce those risks. We have a clear scientific evidence for male and female football players that preventive programs is very efficient, and the current state of the knowledge is by FIFA promoting the 11 plus preventive program, where we have clear evidence that in female population 1/3 reduction of injuries, in male population up to 50% of the injuries can be prevented.
I think there is ample evidence. It does work in labs, sure. There is evidence that it works in certain conditions in athletes as well. You know, that can be qualified by following studies that are available on athletes, not on high-level athletes, but on good athletes. So if you have a acute muscle injury, for example, probably works. And the good thing is that it is not dangerous. It doesn't have any side effects. I think it's more indicated in acute cases than in chronic cases. That means that second day after an injury, or maybe the first week after an injury, it's a good thing to use. In chronic cases, it's much more difficult. And I think the effect is less efficient in chronic cases. So in football, you know, you have a tendon injury in the groin, for example, maybe a hamstring injury, or any type of small muscle injury. You may be able to use it. And if not dangerous, it may help.
I think there's a lot of potential for using stem cells in muscle tendon injury. At this point, with a lot of the animal studies, we're finding a lot of promising results, and some of those results I think may be applicable to human use at some point in the future. You know, there are some people who are actually using it currently and finding some good results in humans. But I think it's just over time, with more investigation, more data, the reality of using it across many different modalities is definitely foreseeable future. I mean, one of the things for me, especially coming from the US, is that I'm collaborating with people from other aspects of the world. You know, there are certain limitations that we have in the US that might not be found in Europe, and I think that's pretty important. So that, you know, a lot of the things that we're trying to implement, some of the data that's coming out of Europe, we can use to sort of exemplify the necessity to use these different modalities. So having the ability to talk to different people, have the opportunity to network, and see different studies that you may not find in the US. I think that it's very important to have this kind of conference. I'm actually really impressed with what I've seen so far, and looking forward to getting more posters and collaborating and discussing more some of the other presenters.
Well, it's a new field, so I'm not sure people understand what muscle and tendon research is. It's not like cancer, which they understand very well. The problem is we as scientists haven't made a great case for why there should be more specific money invested in one discipline. I can say that there is a lot of money in the field, and some of it isn't being spent very well. But the problem there is we never really know what's going to be completely successful and what will pay off and will generate new results, and what is just going to be lost because the experiments don't work. Oh, definitely. There's no question in my mind, for example, in the work that we're doing with surgical correction in children, that we now do the surgeries for things like cerebral palsy or spinal cord injury. We now do them better because we understand what's going on inside the muscle as we're doing the surgery. Whereas before, I think we were relying a lot more on feel and things that were very hard to quantify. I think one of the nicest things about what goes on here is we don't normally interact with each other. So we have sports medicine, scientists, therapists all interacting. We don't normally talk to each other, and we need to because we each know something, but it's such a complicated process. You need people who deal with all aspects of the problem to talk to each other, to learn a little bit of each other's language, and to be able to say, I know this for sure, and then have the other person say, well, I know this for sure, and then together we can come up with answers that are actually robust and not just sort of one field thinking, we think this, but together coming up with answers that are definitive.
There's certainly a lot of research going on. There was something like 7,700 papers published last year in tendinopathy, and some of that's about the clinical stuff and some of it's about basic science. There's a lot of research that's showing us that loading is the best treatment for tendons, but there's also a lot of research looking at interventions in tendons, so injecting substances into tendon and seeing about the response of that. The most exciting thing that's coming up is looking at ways of modifying the tendon structure and ways of modifying the tendon's response to load, and I look forward to some really exciting research in the future. Everybody thinks they're doing the right kind of thing, that's the problem. I think there's a lot of basic research. How that relates to the clinical environment is really difficult. So there are a lot of studies in small animal models, such as mice and rats, but we know that the tendons in these animals are very different from human tendons. So I think if anything is compromising our understanding of what's going on is our incapacity to look at studies in humans. Perhaps the horse is the best model, but again, that's expensive and difficult research. So I think the issues that we have at the moment is translation from what we're seeing in the research through to actually being able to help clinicians in teams. It's just a wonderful environment. I've learned so much here, able to speak to people directly about their research, to find out things that are unpublished, to understand their ideas, in an environment where it's really supportive for that discussion. So not only is it the lectures, but it's the networking and the getting to understand what people are thinking that's really important about these workshops.
El workshop ha sigut un èxit. Realment estem molt contents. Hem aconseguit l'objectiu, que era trobar-nos durant aquests 2 dies experts en ciències bàsiques i, evidentment, amb clínics que tenim uns problemes cada dia amb les lesions musculars i tendinoses. Ens hem ajuntat, ens hem presentat quins són els problemes més comuns i ells ens han donat una visió que és important, que, evidentment, necessitarem nova recerca per poder llavors trobar evidència i poder-la aplicar definitivament amb els nostres